In a little over 400 years, this exact spot will hold the largest city the human race has ever built. You are standing on a flat, marshy plain where a slow brown river spills into a wide, calm bay. It is quiet here. Reeds bend in the wind, mud flats stretch toward the water, and a handful of wooden fishing huts lean against the shore. A few boats, a few nets drying in the sun. That is all. There is no city here. No castle, no tower, no name the world would know. In a little over 400 years, this exact spot will hold the largest city the human race has ever built. Nearly 40 million people will live, work, and sleep on the plain in front of you. So why here? Why this muddy river mouth on the edge of a quiet bay, and not somewhere else? Look down at the land around you. The answer is written into the shape of it. Pull back and look at the whole of Japan from above. It is a long chain of mountainous islands, steep slopes, narrow valleys, very little flat ground. In a country folded up like crumpled paper, level land you can actually build on, and farm is rare and precious. And right here, on the eastern side of the main island, lies the single biggest piece of it. A broad lowland called the Kanto Plain, the largest flat plain in all of Japan. Now, add the water. A wide, sheltered bay opens to the Pacific Ocean, calm enough for boats, deep enough for trade. Rivers wind down across the plain and empty into it, carrying fresh water in a path inland. For a place to grow huge, it needs room to spread, food to eat, and water to move people and goods. Stand on this marsh and you are standing on all three at once. The land has quietly stacked the deck, but geography only sets the stage. Someone has to see it. The first to truly see it arrives in 1457. A samurai and a gifted builder named Oda Doken raises a fortress on a small rise overlooking the bay. He calls it Edo Castle. Edo simply means estuary, or river mouth, the very thing you are standing on. For a while it is modest. A castle, a cluster of homes, fishing villages scattered along the shore. The marsh is still mostly marsh. Then, in 1590, everything changes. A powerful warlord named Tokugawa Ieyasu is handed control of this whole region. He makes Edo his base. In 1603, he becomes shogun, the supreme military ruler of all Japan, and the small castle town on the marsh suddenly becomes the command center of an entire country. Watch the map begin to fill in. The Tokugawa rulers attack the swamp head-on. They cut canals to drain the wetlands and move goods by boat. They flatten hills and dump the earth into the bay, manufacturing dry, solid land out of open water. In one of the largest engineering efforts of the age, they spent decades redirecting a major river, the Tone, pushing its mouth far to the east so it stops flooding the growing city. They are not just building on the land. They are rebuilding the land itself. And then comes the policy that lights the fuse. To keep the powerful lords of Japan under control, the shoguns invent a system called Sankin Kotai, which means alternate attendance. Decoded simply, it works like this. Every feudal lord in the country is ordered to keep a grand residence in Edo and to live there every other year, leaving his family behind in the city when he returns home. Think about what that does. Hundreds of lords, each with armies of samurai servants and retainers, are forced to flow in and out of one city year after year. They need housing, food, clothing, weapons, entertainment. To pay for it all, rice and goods pour in from every corner of Japan. A city does not always grow because of what it makes. Sometimes it grows because of who is forced to come. And come they do. Merchants, craftsmen, cooks, carpenters, and laborers surge in to serve the lords in their households. The marsh you are standing on disappears under a sprawling wooden city, ringed around the castle in great spiraling moats. By the early 1700s, Edo holds around 1 million people. Pause on that number. At a time when most of the world's cities were small, this swampy bay had quietly become one of the largest cities on the entire planet. But a city built almost entirely of wood and paper, packed tight around a castle, carries a terrible risk: fire. In 1657, a catastrophe called the Great Fire of Meiji sweeps through Edo. Whole districts burn. Historians estimate it killed around 100,000 people, and much of the city is reduced to ash. And here you see the pattern that will define this place forever. Edo does not die. It is rebuilt, wider, and better organized than before, with fire breaks and broader streets. The city has discovered the one skill it will need again and again. It knows how to rise from its own ashes. For over 2 centuries, under Tokugawa rule, Edo grows into the beating heart of Japan, even though the emperor himself still lives far away in the old capital, Kyoto. Edo holds the real power. Kyoto holds the real power. Kyoto holds the throne. Then, in 1868, the second great turning point arrives. After more than 250 years, the rule of the shoguns collapses, and power returns to the emperor in a moment known as the Meiji Restoration. The young emperor makes a stunning decision. He leaves Kyoto and moves his court to Edo, the true center of the nation, and he gives the city a new name, Tokyo. It means Eastern Capital. The fishing village on the marsh is now, officially, the capital of Japan. What follows is breathtaking speed. Japan throws open its doors to the world and races to modernize. Watch the map transform. Railways stitch across the Kanto Plain and converge on Tokyo. Factories rise. Brick and stone buildings appear among the wooden houses. Telegraph lines. A modern port. Trains pulling in from every direction. In a few short decades, a feudal castle town reshapes itself into a modern industrial capital. But remember the pattern. This city rises and burns, rises and burns. In 1923, the ground itself turns on it. The Great Kanto Earthquake strikes, one of the most destructive in history. The shaking and the firestorms that follow kill well over 100,000 people and flatten enormous stretches of Tokyo and nearby Yokohama. The city rebuilds. Then, in the final months of the Second World War, in 1945, Tokyo is firebombed. Vast areas of the city are destroyed, and again, a staggering number of people die. By the war's end, much of Tokyo is rubble and open ground. By every reasonable measure, this should be the end of the story. It is not. What happens next is one of the most astonishing recoveries any city has ever made. In the decades after the war, Japan's economy explodes upward, and Tokyo grows with it, faster and larger than ever before. In 1964, the city hosts the Olympic Games and unveils a gleaming high-speed rail line, announcing to the world that it is fully, dramatically back. Now watch the plain in front of you fill in completely. The fishing huts, long gone. The wooden city, gone. In their place, a sea of buildings, stretching as far as you can see in every direction, far beyond the original bay, climbing over hills, pressing right up to the feet of distant mountains. Towers of glass and steel. Trains gliding in on elevated tracks, packed and precise. Neon glowing over crowded streets at night. Rivers and canals, the descendants of those first drainage cuts, threading quietly between skyscrapers. Today, the greater Tokyo area is home to roughly 37 million people. It is, by population, the largest metropolitan area in the world. More people live around this one bay than in many entire countries, and almost none of it was an accident. The flat plain gave it room to grow. The sheltered bay and the rivers gave it water and trade. A castle on a river mouth gave it a center. A shogun's policy forced a nation to flow through it. And again, when fire, earthquake, and war tore it down, the city simply rebuilt and kept climbing. The land offered the opportunity. The people refused, century after century, to let go of it. So look at it now. 37 million people on a plain where reeds once bent in the wind. A skyline so vast it fades into haze at the horizon. A bay still crowded with ships, still doing exactly what it always did, taking the world in and sending Japan back out. You are standing on a flat, marshy plain where a slow brown river spills into a wide, calm bay. The reeds are buried under the largest city on earth now. The fishing huts are gone, replaced by glass towers and silent, gliding trains. But the bay is still there. The plain is still there. The river still finds the sea. Exactly as it did the day you arrived, quietly explaining. If you know how to look, how a fishing village became Tokyo.